Hello, hello, and welcome back to Minotaur Hotel. That was a fun time with Asterion, right? A velvety silence blankets the hotel's hallways, interrupted only by the sweet-sounding song of hooves. Their beat is long and lazy, like the gentle back and forth of back. Wait, the gentle back and forth and back again of foamy waves kissing sandy beaches. But each note is interspersed with a flicking of the ear, a swaying of the tail, full lungfuls of air drawn in and out, and some lingering grumbles of memory. The darling lumbers through these familiar passages. But how odd it all feels. His surroundings somehow smaller and cramped, although it may only be his steep, wide back, splayed out in old glory. You doing okay, game? There we go. Sometimes my computer just isn't the best. I'm sorry, guys. Through gritted teeth, he mutters words he cannot appreciate. What have I done? An hour or so, long enough for the rosy half light from the windows to fade into a satin dusk, has passed since he has wow. I'm sorry, guys. Has passed since he has last seen his master, his partner, his Mr. Josh. The lordly man had left their secret home in the hotel's heart, wishing to ensure that preparations for that night's celebrations were on track. He wanted everything to be perfect for their announcement, the truth of their co-ownership branded over their ancient falsehood of servitude with their festive rite. All for the Minotaur, for Mr. Josh's best friend, for his oh, how the sweet burning fire consumes Asterion's very being at the thought. However, when he's been invited along to check in with the friends they'd employed and the guests they welcomed, and to make sure all would be as it should, Asterion had demurred. Again, the hummingbirds had played across the back of his neck, tugging upon each strand of fur. Again, the tremors had shaken him to his core. Again, he needed time to think, to ruminate, and allow himself to. What that same tenderness gently which had unlocked and cast aside the captive prince's chains, Mr. Josh had given him that time, gracious and generous. He would take care of things, and when Asterion was ready, all the darling would need to do was to come down and join them. And so, Asterion wanders the hotel's hallways, away from the commotion, thinking, ruminating, allowing himself to dream of what might come next. As I kissed, Agathon, my soul swelled to my lips, where it hangs, pitiful, hoping to leap across. I never thought that I would. How soft his maneuvering left and right, up and down stairs, in and out. His legs feel fresh and just so right, as if the idea that they could end in anything but hooves is unthinkable. His eyes, darting from marble floor to open doors, feel quicker and wiser. Colors so dear burst from his memories. The lilac of dawn, the fields covered in crimson poppies, and saffron, his father's purple robes fluttering in the wind as Asterion drew the bowstring. the cold and crisp of on his wet nose, hooves half sunk into the what is this? Loamy soil. The feathered arrow caressed between the right index and middle finger as they bore the string's tension. His hands so unlike the rude things they are today, riddled with knots, knuckles, and dried tendons. Tearing apart at the seams, he had a semblance of grace once. The prince nurses these memories, but cannot stop himself from asking, "What have I done?" Those words, however, came in a voice both well-known and unfamiliar. Well-known, its grave ring has been heard before. The syllables themselves, feeling as though rolled out of his own mouth. But unfamiliar, they are dulled, drawn out, or perhaps a numbness has taken over his senses. "What have I done?" He stops. With eyes wide open, he touches that shame, as so disciplined and dedicated to never allowing him a memory of a moment of mercy. All good men have this thing. It seldom goes silent. No sacrifice or trial is great enough to shut it out. If it cannot be silenced, however, in this moment of clarity, Asterion realizes one might as well deafen himself to it. Let it speak to itself, and only to itself, and so the prince chooses to give himself mercy. He breathes in, choosing freedom. He hungers for color now, for fresh air to ease his thoughts, and room enough to see the sky, room enough to dream. Without a second thought, he goes outside. Oh, okay. This is it, boy. The dreaded moment you've been waiting for. His little hands curled around the steering wheel, a teary-eyed, chest boiling. And the faithful companion, his mind riddled with all sorts of questions about fathers, and a terrible sinking feeling that something is wrong all the way down to the depths of this world. Wrong on each and every layer of rock and earth, except for maybe an inch-thin slice of rightfulness. There at the surface. The peacock unlocks the car doors, but neither he nor his charge move. The Panotes swallows the knot in his throat and ponders the value of his own words, the shame and cringe of bearing one's heart, and what benefit it may bring to another. His father had always been scarce with praise and affection. Wouldn't that left a gap within him? So this time he chooses to speak. Oh. I couldn't have done this without you. Thanks, Oscar. You're welcome, boss. Glad I could earn my keep. The Panopetis squeezes the charm. He cannot imagine how the boy did it, but it must have been the charm. Somehow it had opened the way to the hotel. When we first met, I sure as hell didn't count on you delving into rights. But I gotta say, you're a fine pupil. And if this little stunt you've pulled is any indication, you've made a great occultist. If it means anything, as your mentor, I'm proud of you. And as your boss, count me impressed. Thanks, boss. You know, hearing this sort of stuff coming from a cunt like you means a lot. Yeah, right. I'm stinging. I'm stingy like that, so you know I mean it. So, I know you don't like flashy shit, but I saw some cool-looking rites in that spellbook of yours. You think you could? Ah, hell. You earned it. Sure, I'll teach you a trick or two. Now, you ready? Always was. They open the door, and light leaks out into the endless night. Their shadows cross the parking lot, striding with a pride as great as the tragedy which awaits. What? The tragedy which awaits them? No. Not Oscar. What the? Oh, the other Minotaur. Asterion, meanwhile, takes a stroll in front of the hotel, surrounded by the labyrinth's infinite realm. His mind is taken up by contemplation about time, charge, and his place in the world. Even the desert, his captor, for now is broken up into a nightscape of harmless, near beauty, as sat in darkness from above, a horizon sliced by the jagged mountains into this starlit lapis lazuli, and a wind which howls like a meandering song. His mind is clear and perfect, like seawater cupped in one's hand, for every crease of the palm, half-healed scar, and grains of sand is made fresh as a newborn's first sight. The prince hugs himself, and every unruly calf trotting wild in his chest. He checks their hooves for wounds, teeth for rot, fur for naked patches. Each fear has a name and a temperament of its own, and a song which soothes it, and it alone. Does he fear? By the 12, yes. But what bravery and wisdom is in the prince tonight, and every flash of trauma is gathered down to its resting place. Asterion, judgment and what is this word? Acuital? Mute. Excuse me. Mute and of many words, pacified and spangled-minded? Who is heard in gentleness and learnt from in roughness, abandoned and dearly beloved. He knows it, good Lord, and if fear threatens to make him, a breath of humanity fills his chest and emboldens him. He breathes in and looks up to the stars. And there, up above, do his eyes deceive him? A white vulture, just like when he was young. He hears footsteps, which filled with such trained grace and purpose as they make their way into the hotel. When the prince's eyes looks to the door, he only catches a glimpse of what seems to be feathers making their way in. He rises to follow, to act as both witness and welcoming host, but another sound from behind transfixes him. Like the ringing of one's voice returns to echoes, from the depths of the old hotel, like another man's heartbeat compared to one's own. So familiar, and yet irrevocably strange, the off-tempo melody of hooves dancing to a lopsided rhythm. From the slit in the star-spangled horizon he comes, the drop of blood. Their eyes meet each other's horns, bullish noses, sweet-sounding hooves. The two draw their breaths. Between them there is only the silence and inadequacy, as if they stood by an elder on their deathbed. That shame of being present during another's final moment. Nothing one may do can ever be enough, and one's limbs always feel wrong and misplaced. All thoughts are shameful. No one is ever adequate in moments like this. Oscar takes a step forward. His hands yearn to reach out, but he keeps them locked into his fist at his side. As for Asterion, 1,000 fears and doubts. He conquered today, but at a glance, this one is too much. So they are left there, transfixed. At least they can admire each other's horns, and, in that, a warmth growing within their chests. The boy musters his courage first.
Hi!
But as soon as the words leave his lips, he already regrets it. What a mediocre introduction. So unlike all the times he dreamed of this moment. He tries again, this time with a dash of pomp.
Greetings, sir!
The prince hugs a lyre that isn't there. The boy takes a step back. The two draw their breaths.
Hello.
Unlike Oscar, Asterion has no use for pomp, and what thoughts run wild in his mind grow quiet when he catches a faint scent of seaweed and salt water coming from the young man. Memories burst forth, of sea foam clinging to his hooves, much like he did in his older brother's hands, with Androgos carrying a basket of seashells in the other. At last, that does it. Asterion forgets his own imprisonment and all of the evil laid upon him. He holds his dignity once more, and within it comes the sweet-sounding voice of a prince.
If my vision does not deceive me, then what a blessed night I have been given. In all my years, never have I seen another like me.
A warmth takes over Oscar's cheeks, and his limbs, those rebellious things, feel right as rain.
I could say the same, sir. For the longest time, I didn't believe it happened, either. Though, I sure as hell dreamt of it. Say, is this place some sort of hotel? Correct. It is called, well, forgive me if it is silly or tacky, but we call it Minotaur Hotel as of tonight. My name is Asterion, and before you say another word, it would be an honor and privilege to have you stay with us. That's mighty kind of you, sir. Kinder by far than what I'd expect of anyone, really. But I'm afraid I don't.
Asterion smiles, almost laughs as the boy meanders down the avenue.
Not enough. Not once have I had the joy of meeting someone like me, so please forget money. How fitting it is that tonight of all nights you arrive. I can only believe a god must have guided you here as a blessing.
A godless life the boy has led. Tonight, however, he believes.
Again, sir, you're way too kind, but hell, you ain't even gotten my name. I feel so ashamed. My father always told me it is rude to ask a guest questions before they have been given the warmth of the hearth, a filling meal, and an invigorating bath. I better introduce myself then. I'm Oscar, of Astora, and I come from the hinterlands, just a bit further to the west. Speaking of which, I feel so silly. A friend and I spent so much time looking for this place back there. We never imagined it'd be by the coast.
Asterion laughs, as though the hardy and as rough and hardy as waves crashing against the shore, brimming with secrets and joy alike.
Well, you could say this hotel is found wherever it is needed, and not so much when it looks for. It is a home for those who are lost, and by old magic, they find their way here. If you are in need of shelter, Oscar, then it is my hope our hotel will be a kind and loving home for you.
Thank you. I don't think I'm lost, not anymore. But there's a friend of mine who's needing it. Pedro, he's the one who got me searching for this place.
Where is he? I must welcome him. First, as this hotel's host, and second, in gratitude for bringing you here.
He was in a hurry, but when I saw you here, I asked him to give me a minute or two, so we went on ahead. I wanted to talk to you, if I'm being honest.
In this regard, I can certainly understand, as the chance to meet another one of my kind has never presented itself. I, too, would like as many minutes of yours as you can spare.
Hummingbirds peck the back of Oscar's neck, but tonight the sensation is not unwelcome.
God, I was hoping there'd be a whole town of people like us here, but even one feels like a miracle. My buddy studies magic, you see, and he told me he'd never heard of people like us. For years, I thought I was the only one.
Their smiles linger, shy and insignificant in this unending desert, but their expression turns lucid as each one explains the implications of the other's genealogy.
You didn't know my parents, sir? Oh, you didn't know your parents, sir?
Is that what it said? You didn't know your parents. Okay. It stops his breath. Actually, I think I'll end the part here. That sounds about right. All right. I'll see you around, everyone.